In this ActiveCampaign tutorial for beginners, I'll walk you through step by step how to set up a brand new ActiveCampaign account when you don't have any list, you don't have any contacts, and you're just getting started. I'm Jason, growth specialist at Wildmail, where we help make ActiveCampaign even better for Europe-based businesses. Let's check it out. So first, to get started, there are two ways to create a 14-day trial. It's free, no credit card required. The first is by going through ActiveCampaign directly. So I'll show you that here. You can go to activecampaign.com/free, put in your email address and hit create an account. Once you do that, it'll walk you through a few prompts asking you a few questions about your account. So we'll fill these in. Obviously not a real number. And then to personalize the platform and experience, it'll ask you a few more questions. So I'll just choose the answers here. I'm just starting out, say just myself, and we can say consulting agency. Then it'll ask you to select the other tools in your tech stack. I'm going to skip this for now, and then we'll create a password. And now it's created your new account. So here you have some prompts for where you would like to get started, but we're going to first go into settings, addresses. We're going to add an address. So I'll select Spain, put in your company name. Then for the address, and once you've added that, you can hit add address. And this allows you to send out emails in compliance with the different legal requirements for your business. So that's why we need to set up that first. So we've created our account and added an address, and now we're going to create our first list. We're assuming you're brand new to this and don't have any contacts to import. So we're going to create a single master list, and we always teach creating one main master list, a main list where you store all of your contacts, have as few lists as possible. We actually have two on our accounts because we serve English and Spanish audiences, but from there, all segmentation will be done by tags, which I'll show you in just a second. So we're going to go to contacts, lists. You'll see the master contact list here that they give you as a default. Over here on the right, I'm going to select edit, and we just call this our main list. The URL for your website, and you can add a description for why the contact is receiving emails from this list, and hit add. Now we've created our single main list. So we're going to create tags using a tagging naming system that looks a lot like this here. So in a separate Google Sheet, we do recommend creating this so that it's like a living document that you or any new team members that you bring on can go directly to and see the tag types, the prefixes that will actually get used in the tags when you create them inside ActiveCampaign, the purpose of the tags, and an example of the tag. And then that way you can keep everything organized. You can also just copy and paste. Like if you create your initial tags for your examples, you can copy and paste them into ActiveCampaign. I'll show you where to do that now. Inside your account, you can go back to contacts and go to tags. Here's where you'll be able to add all of your different tags, and you can add them in one per line or separate them by commas. And you just want to think of your customer journey. So opt-in points, for example, when someone opts in for a lead magnet, we can say action, lead magnet A, opted in, and add the tag. Here you can always edit them, delete them, etc. And you'll see which contacts have the tags applied and which automations are making use of these tags. We're going to use this one in just a second. So this is where you create your tags. If you have them all mapped out beforehand, great, you can add them in. When you think again about your customer journey, this would be tags for opting in for lead magnets, booked a call, call canceled, etc. Purchase tags as well, get those in there. Once you've created the tags, we're always going to segment by tags and not list, which is why we only have one list. And I'll show you more about segmentation using if-then conditions. But first, we're going to create our first email draft, and we're going to create it as a template so we don't have to build it out every single time. And the campaign feature is the main feature of ActiveCampaign. So inside ActiveCampaign, you've got campaigns right below contacts. First campaign button, you'll be prompted to select that. But we're going to go over here on the left and go to campaign templates. And there won't be any templates yet, but we're going to create our first one. So create a template in the top right and then select the email designer. You can also use custom HTML if you're a bit more advanced, but we're going to use the email designer if you're just starting out here, and hit continue. And now you can start from scratch, or you can select one of the basic templates or one of the design templates. We typically send out more text-based emails. It's better for deliverability. It looks more conversational, more personal. So I'm just going to choose say hello to a new customer. And you can preview them and select them from here or start from scratch. And you can even see ActiveCampaign in their default copy says, a text-based email is a great way to make a more personal intro to a customer. You've got your text tools at the top here. And we'll typically make sure that our text is at 14. We may have a header at the top. I'll leave it at hello and it would be 16. And then for our font, we use Tahoma, but you can select whichever one is best for you. For our line spacing, this is what we choose typically here. We adjust our padding a bit differently from the default. So we'll do 5, 5, 20, and 30. And we'll put spaces. And typically if we're including links, we'll try to include as high up in the copy as possible. So we'll just add it to helpful links right up here. And then here in global settings, if you go to sections, you can adjust the font color and the link color. So for the link color, we'll just give it a blue here. And we'll add a PS and we'll just say, reiterate CTA with link. That's typically how we format ours with the italicized formatting. And then we'll just, over here is where you'll actually add where the link goes. You'll see over here on the right. And then if you want, you can add an additional section to personalize the unsubscribe section in your emails. So you can add in a text block, or I would just duplicate this here. All you have to do is hover over the 3 dots and you'll see the other settings here. You can delete this section. You can set it as conditional content, which I'll show you in 1 second. You can copy or duplicate this text block. You can move it, or you could save it as a module. So for example, if you have a specific signature or a specific block that you use in a lot of your different emails, you can save it as a module. And then over here where it says saved modules, you'll be able to grab it, search for it, etc., and pop it into any emails in the future. For this one, I'm just going to paste in some copy that we already have. We have our custom unsubscribe section here, and you'll notice that the unsubscribe section before disappeared, and that's because we have this specific link. I'm clicking into the unsubscribe link right now, and if I look over to the right, we have the unsubscribe link that's required from ActiveCampaign. This is one of their default personalization tags that will allow you to customize it. As long as you have that included in this text block, the other text block for their defaults unsubscribe section will disappear. Okay, so we can just use that for now. And typically we'll make this a bit smaller. Make sure it's the same font. And we may even change the color of it to be a bit more gray, but that's too much. So there we go. Okay, so now we have our template here that we can repurpose going forward for our future emails. We're going to give that a name. We can just say campaign template 1, hit save, and then hit save and exit in the top right. So now we have created your first email campaign draft. And when you use the campaign feature, it's like a broadcast feature, and it's best for one-off emails. We use it for newsletters, product updates, and flash sales. But you've got that template now that you can repurpose for other emails inside of your automations, which is what we're going to set up now. This first automation is going to deliver your lead magnets, and then I'm going to show you how to connect it to a form so that when someone opts in, you can send them the lead magnets or just the welcome message, whatever it is that they opted in for when they subscribed, to your form. So your automations are best for evergreen marketing efforts that send out based on specific conditions or actions by your contacts. So like a welcome sequence, nurture sequence, post-purchase, webinar registration. And in this case, we're showing you a welcome sequence or a lead magnet opt-in and then a nurture or onboarding sequence. So to set up your first automation, we're going to go over here to the left and go to automations. One thing that's nice about ActiveCampaign is you've got the automations map, which will actually show you all of your, like a bird's eye view of all of your automations and how they connect to one another. Super helpful. A lot of other tools don't have that. And so we're going to go to create an automation. You'll notice here they have hundreds of recipes that can help you kickstart your automation building. You'll probably find a use case in here that you can use as like a foundational template and then improve upon and customize. For our own case, we're just going to start from scratch and hit continue. And so here's where we'll typically use a tag is added right here as our trigger. And in this case for the tag, we can use the tag we created earlier on for lead magnet A opted in. Obviously, you can swap out A for whatever lead magnet, like a specific name for the lead magnet that you were delivering. And then if you choose it to run once, this will only be triggered one time, even if we remove and then re-add the tag. If you choose to run multiple times, then if we remove the tag and then re-add it later on, it will trigger this automation again and the contact will run through it. So we're going to select once, as this is like a welcome email, and hit add start. Now here is where we can choose our sending options, conditions and workflow, and other actions. We're going to choose send an email. And we can say this is welcome. It's not visible to your contacts. It's the internal name for it. And you can choose to start from a template, which we already have. Start with a past campaign. Or you can also choose to save and design later. There are two options that we'll typically choose to keep the flow of work moving. And that is to start with a template that we've just created, or save and design later and come back to it. So if I start with a template, it will take me in here to choose the template, and I can hit continue. And I can scroll down, or I can just search for the one that we created earlier, which was campaign template 1, hit select, and give it a subject like welcome. And then we can add a personalization tag. So we'll use like their first name, for example, and hit save and hit continue. And we can just hit save and exit. And then you can come back and update this template when you're ready, when you're more in the copywriting and creative flow. So for this one, someone has just opted in. So we're just going to choose to send immediately. But with future emails in your automations, you may choose to send with predictive sending. You can click here to learn more about that, but it basically is explained right here. Machine learning is going to help send emails when the contact is most likely to open them. Super helpful for increased open rates, click-through rates, and conversions in your future campaigns. But again, we're going to choose send immediately and hit save. Here, one thing that can be helpful to do is to create a follow-up in case they don't engage with this initial welcome, whether it's delivering a lead magnet or your first interaction with them, giving them free resources, etc., something of value. So we can hit the plus and go to conditions and workflow, wait, and we can choose to wait until specific conditions are met. And for our conditions, we can say has opened, choose the campaign, and select the welcome email. And then we can say, or has clicked on a link, because sometimes there are false positives, false negatives inside ActiveCampaign and any other marketing platform these days that does email marketing for email opens. So we want to check and make sure clicks are more reliable. That's why we're tracking constantly by clicks in emails versus just opens. But we'll say has clicked on a link in a campaign, the welcome campaign, and we'll say any link. And then we'll say continue automation if conditions are not met within a specific time period. And we can just say 1 day. People get busy, they opt into things, then they go do something else. But we want to make sure that within a certain window, when they've expressed their interest, they're motivated, etc., we want to bring them back to engage with this email if they haven't. So we'll hit save. Then we're going to add conditions to check and make sure that if they progress through, they have either opened the email or clicked on a link. So we'll hit plus, conditions and workflow, and we're going to use the if-else conditions here and say has opened, campaign, welcome email, add another condition, or has clicked on a link, campaign, the welcome email, and any link. We'll hit save. And now you'll see it pulls up 2 different paths, yes or no. So this is like a brief introduction to conditional logic inside ActiveCampaign. You've got these 2 different paths based on whether or not the contact meets these conditions above. So if they have opened the email or they've clicked a link in that email, they'll go down the yes path. So we can just end this automation for now. And if they go down the no path, we want to resend them the email, resend them the whatever the content is that contains, whether it's a valuable PDF, a video, whatever it is that you're sharing with them in the welcome or in this lead magnet delivery automation. So we can say, if no, we're going to click this email above, send an email welcome, drag it down, and then we're just going to copy single action and hit OK. That's one way to quickly duplicate existing steps if you use them more than once in an automation. And we'll click in. We can go to edit. Here you would adjust the copy because now you're resending it. So maybe acknowledge the fact that you already sent it once. Hey, did life get in the way? People get busy, etc. Just wanted to make sure you didn't miss out on this, free value that I'm sharing with you. You can go over here to the gear, to the email settings, and adjust your subject line. So instead of welcome first name, you can say something like your free resources. In case you missed it, your free resources first name. You can always adjust the pre-header text. This will be like a snippet of text that appears after the subject line in most email marketing platforms. Otherwise, if you leave it blank, just the first line of your email will display. Choose who it's from. You want to make sure you're using your first name typically. Automatically generate a text version of the email. And then you'll see it'll do a spam check here, which we've passed. But if you have any trigger words that'll trigger spam filters or anything else that's off with your settings, it'll let you know here in the spam check. So we can hit save and we'll just go through these steps. I'll hit next. It'll bring you back to a more complete version of the settings. You'll see now we still have the subject, pre-header text, from. The domain needs to be verified. Just click this button to send the verification email and go through those steps. And then this one you might want to say follow up, welcome. This is internally, so you'll remember what it's about. Contains your address. We will always have our open in red tracking on. You can always hover over these little eyes for information. Whenever you see this in the ActiveCampaign platform, it's super helpful. It'll kind of explain like what the feature does, what it's about, or what the metric is that you're looking at. In this case, this is for tracking when a contact opens or reads the emails. We're also going to keep on link tracking, which will be available when you have your domain verified and your emails finalized. We don't typically use reply tracking, and for Google Analytics, you can also turn that on when you have that integrated. You can send a test email. We always send a test email to ourselves and typically one other member of our team just to make sure the email is appearing correctly, both on mobile and in your desktop in your browser. And then that way there's no issues with formatting, etc. before you send it out. And then when it's ready, you can hit save and exit. And then from here, you can go to conditions and workflow and then end the automation. So now we can give this a name. I'll just title it Welcome Lead Magnet Delivery. Again, trying to give you a broad enough example. You can use this for either a initial welcome email when someone opts into a form, signs up to your list in general, welcoming them, providing them with some general free resources, etc. Or you can use this for a specific lead magnet that they've opted into. It's all going to depend on your form and your funnel, whatever you have them opting in for. But you can use this template here for both. So we'll hit save. And in this case, I'll actually choose a recipe to show you how easy it is to use them to get you started. So I'll choose a nurture series when tagged. Hit continue. And you'll see there's actually an automation setup wizard that'll help you to set this up step by step. So you'll just follow the prompts and hit get started. So here it's asking us to set up whether or not your campaigns in this automation have been opened. You can see here, this first if else action should be set up to check if the contact opened all the emails in this automation. So 1, 2, and 3. They open all the emails, they're going to go down the yes path and be tagged as highly engaged. So we'll hit next. This is now asking us to set up another condition here in the automation. It's saying it should be set up to check if the contact opened any of the emails, 1, 2, or 3. That's why it's using or instead of and. So the previous conditions were using and to check and make sure that they had opened each of the campaigns in this automation sequence. This one is now saying or, so it's checking to see did they open any of the emails. If they opened at least one but not all, they'll go down the yes path and get tagged as engaged. Finally, if they didn't open any emails, they'll go down the no path and be tagged as unengaged. So I'll just walk you through that here. For the trigger, you can click in and see the notes here, adjust the trigger to select an action the contact will take to enter into this nurture sequence. In the example, they use a tag being added based on a form submission. For us, we can use event welcome complete, have it run once, and hit save start. Now, if I hover over the notes for this action here in the first email, it says use these email actions to draft out your nurture series. Feel free to build more messages and actions for what makes sense for your business. Okay, so we can click in and edit each of these emails. I can hit edit, email designer, hit continue, select our template that we created earlier on in the video. For the subject, you can put in a placeholder. This will depend on your funnel. Maybe you're sharing more about your personal story. You're sharing more about a challenge that you overcame, or testimonials, etc. So we'll hit continue. And now we're going to hit save and exit. And we're going to come back to these emails in just 1 second. So you can go through each of the emails and select that template that we had created in the past. And then this here are the conditions that we set up earlier, which says, have they opened all of the emails? If yes, they're highly engaged, and we're tagging them nurture series highly engaged. If they have not opened all of them, we're checking to see, have they opened any of the emails? If yes, we're going to add engaged. If they haven't opened any of the emails, we can say that they are unengaged. Now, in order to add this tag, we go back to our automations, go to our welcome lead magnet delivery automation, and we can add to the contact a tag and select event welcome complete and hit save. You can see here this block may trigger the nurture series when tagged automation. That's what we want. And we want to make sure we trigger it for this one over here as well. So we can actually hit the plus, go to conditions and workflow, and choose the go to another action, hit OK. Click and drag this to connect it above, adding the tag. And now everyone that finishes this automation is going to get the welcome complete tag, which will trigger the nurture series. Here's our trigger. And so all we want to do is add one additional wait block before our first email so they're not receiving multiple emails at once. So we can go to conditions and workflow, click wait for a specified period of time, and you can choose 1 or 2 days. And now this first email in the nurture sequence is going to go out 1 day after they complete the welcome sequence. All right, so we set up our first automation, the welcome automation, and we set up our nurture sequence. So now we're going to create our first form, which allows you to grow your list of active contacts. You're going to send traffic to this form to get them to opt in for whatever it is, the lead magnet or your newsletter, etc., that you're having them opt in for, so that they're eligible to receive marketing communication from you. So here inside ActiveCampaign, we're going to go to website, and this will actually pop up if you're just getting started. So click create a form. We're going to choose inline form, and we'll say lead magnet A. We're going to subscribe to a list first and select our main list. And we're also going to add an action, add a tag, and choose our action lead magnet A opted in tag that will trigger the welcome automation. We'll click create. Now here we have the form builder. You've got your different fields that you can add. We typically recommend keeping the fields to a minimum. So whatever is the minimum amount of information for ActiveCampaign, email is required, and we'll typically want at least the first name. So what I would do is, depending on your landing page that you're going to embed this on, you may remove all of this copy here because you probably have it on your landing page builder. So what I would do is just delete all of these sections and keep the form alone. And then instead of the full name, we'll probably just use first name. So you can click and drag that over like that. You've got first name, email. To remove the marketing by ActiveCampaign, go to style, scroll down and turn off AC branding. Here's where you can adjust the background, font color, the font, etc. This is actually on brand for us. And we'll collect one other bit of information to help us personalize the nurture sequence, which I'll show you in just a minute with conditional content. But in order to personalize that content beyond just, hey, first name, we may ask a question around their industry, for example, so that we can tailor the messaging and the copy in our emails to that industry. So over here, it says custom fields. Click the plus icon to create one, and we'll call it business industry, and include it in general details for the contact. And then for the field type, we're actually going to select the drop-down option. And we can say something like SaaS, consulting, agency, and ecom, and hit add. And now we can choose it from our custom fields over here, add it to our form, and they'll be able to select their industry. And that'll get saved as a custom field. And we can use that to personalize our copy to them in the nurturing emails, which I'll show you in just a second. And then to make custom adjustments to the form, you can obviously use everything here with style, like I mentioned before. So adjust the button here, adjust the form style, you can adjust the layout. And then also you can add custom CSS. So to do that, just click the inspector. And then you can see here it says hover over any element and click to select it to apply custom CSS. You may have to look up custom CSS changes, but one I will show you that we typically do for the button is to say width 100%. And then you've got the full length button there. And then for your options, we're going to adjust what happens when someone actually opts in. So right now, when they submit it, it'll just show this thank you. It just looks like that. It's a bit dull. Typically, we're going to open a URL, and you want to create in your landing page builder or your website builder, you want to create a page that's a personalized like thank you page for whatever it is that they've opted in for. That's on brand, etc. It's a bit nicer of an experience than just that thank you. And then as you can see here, the form actions, we've got the fact that we've got them subscribing to a list, and we're adding the tag. And if you go to the opt-in options, there's going to be the double confirmation, which you do want to leave on. You can preview the email here. It's pretty ugly as a default, so you may want to go in and change that. This confirm button contains a link. You can see in the bottom here, where it says in the bottom left, the activehosted.com %confirm link. That's a default link that needs to be included so that when they click on this, they're completing the double opt-in. But everything else can be adjusted just by simply clicking edit to adjust that email. And then when they confirm that action, you can again redirect them to a URL. So back here, when they submit it, your URL, your page might say, hey, check your email inbox for the confirmation, the double opt-in confirmation email. It may give instructions as to how to whitelist your email address as well. And then here for the form action, again, you can update this email here so that it looks nicer and is more on brand, and get them to confirm. And then again, you can just choose redirect to a URL that says thanks for opting in and confirming your subscription, and then it's on brand. It looks a lot nicer than just a thank you message that looks like this. And hit save. And then when you're ready, go to integrate in the top right. And there are two options, simple embed and full embed. Typically, you're going to want to use this simple because it'll dynamically pull in any updates. So if you go back to the form, make changes, this will automatically update it. Whereas the full, I believe you would have to recopy this and paste it in to your to an HTML block in your landing page builder or your website builder, whatever you're using. You also have these options here. You can send people directly to it via link. We don't typically use this. You can integrate it directly if you're using WordPress, or you can also use it, add the subscription form directly to your Facebook page. Once you've done that, you can hit save and exit, and you've got your first form. So now you've got your form set up. You've got it connected to your welcome automation, and your welcome automation connected to your nurture sequence. You'll notice these both have red dots. We're back here in automations. They have red dots because they are inactive. But you can just click over here to the right and say make active, or select both like that, and then click set active whenever you're ready. One thing I wanted to share with you though is about conditional content. So remember, we collected in the form some information around the business industry that the contact is in, and I want to show you how you can create one email and offer different content that's really tailored to the specific contact, and the information that they've shared with you, in this case, their business industry, to increase relevancy, increase click-through rates, conversion rates, etc. So we'll go back into the nurture sequence, and I'll show you this in the first email, but you can do this with the rest of them. We'll go to edit. Now you'll notice this green box here for the entire section. And then if I click in, we've got a specific container for text, which is in blue. If I click into the text box, you'll see these 3 dots. And what I can do is duplicate and copy that text box. What we want to do is break up our different sections of copy so that we keep everything that is not going to change or have any conditional content, which, by the way, conditional content is going to show different copy based on a specific data point or characteristic of the contact who is reading the email. So in our case, we filled a custom field with business industry, and it was SaaS, consulting agency, or e-com. And we're going to show different copy in the email that they receive in the nurture sequence based on that custom field. So we're going to keep the hello section for all readers, all contacts. And we're going to keep the signature and the unsubscribe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it one more time. We're going to remove everything except for the signature and the PS. And at the top, I'm going to remove everything except for the beginning where we're greeting them and then the initial line to greet them. Now we've got this section in the middle here. So this is just placeholder copy, but what you're going to do is you've got this middle section here, and we can call this one SaaS. We're going to create a container for each of the different industry types. Okay, and these blue ones are modules. If you save them like this here with this, what looks like the download, and it says save as module, it'll show up over here in the bottom right with saved modules, and you'll be able to search for them by name or by tag, and then drag them into any emails in the future if you have repeat blocks of text that you use. In this case, we're going to duplicate, and for this one, instead of SaaS, we're going to say consulting, and one more time, and we're going to say e-com. And now we only want the SaaS section to show for people who answered that they were part of the SaaS industry, consulting to show for consulting agencies, and then e-com to show for contacts who selected the e-com option. You can also create a fourth one. If you remember, that field for sharing their industry with us was not required. So it's possible that they would leave it blank, and you could select an option that would show for that as well. And I'll show you how to do that here. So we can duplicate and say no response. Click into SaaS first, hover over the 3 dots and go to this branch here for display conditions. You can see here what I mentioned before, that conditional content allows you to personalize and send different content to different contacts using a single campaign. So you don't have to create multiple emails. It's the same email, but we're just going to personalize specific sections of that email. So I'll go into this custom field section and search for contact business industry is SaaS and hit save. So now this will only show if the contact business industry equals SaaS. And then we'll go through and do this for all of the other industry types. A quick note, if you use equals is, it has to match exactly. Otherwise, you can choose contains and then just do, make sure one of the words that you used in the industry type matches. So I'll hit save, e-com, and finally for no response, does not exist, and hit save. So now you have all of these different sections. Only one will show depending on how that custom field is filled in for the user. and then you can hit save and exit. And if you want, once you've created that initial email, again, you can always just drag it down and replace the emails that you have below from the template with your first email that you've already created, and then adjust the copy for it when you're ready. I would do all of the automation pieces first before you switch back into your, like I said, your creative brain, your copywriting brain. And so that's it for the beginner's tutorial. You have created your account, you've created a list, you've created your tags, you've created your first email campaign draft to reuse and repurpose. You've set up not only your first welcome or lead magnet delivery automation, but your nurture sequence automation. And you've created your first form to help people opt in. You can start driving traffic to that organically via ads, etc., to get people to opt into your list and run through these automations that you've created. Just remember to turn them on in automations. If you have any questions about these first steps as a beginner with ActiveCampaign, just drop them in the comments below. We'd be happy to help you get started.